All right, it's Friday, July 28th. This is an end of the day and end of the week SPY recap. And today we end up with an inside green bar relative to yesterday's big red bar. We stayed inside the high and the low. This is actually a bad looking, it's just the data looks wrong here. The open was, the low is much closer to the open here. I'll get to it in a minute on the 15-minute chart, but you can see, if this is yesterday's range, we kind of were just stayed in here. Our low wasn't really near the low. So maybe they'll adjust that on this program. So the low is somewhere down here, and it's kind of a small green bar inside. But anyway, it's interesting in the sense that we had the big red reversal looking bar yesterday, but as discussed, it's just a 3 bar. That's broadening action, higher high, lower low. So there's no real actionable signal. Yes, you certainly, there's definitely 2 lows down here that you expect to be taken out, but that's why they say let them open and see what happens, because we didn't open anywhere near these lows to continue lower or even start the session, even if we opened up a little higher starting down. So the market is not ready to take that out yet. You would have certainly expected that, and then we were talking about how you can get maybe a 3, 2 down, 2 up kind of thing, or who knows what was going to unfold. I still think there's a very high probability target here, but we're just going to have to get the a 2 down day now to kind of start moving that way. Once we get that, this will be a clear target. In the meantime, we have an inside bar here that if we break to the upside, we're going to target those highs. And the interesting thing, as always, with an inside bar, once we have a breakout either up or down, there's always the potential of failure to not reach its target and then come back through the middle of the range and go the opposite way. So we'll have to see what happens next week. In terms of the weekly chart, yesterday we were very close to having this red and a shooter looking bar that should follow through lower. All of a sudden, within one day, we come right back into the middle of the range and it closes nice and green, a little bit of a neutral looking bar, selling up here, buying down here, and now we have to get out of that bar. We might start up and fail, given that we have that inside bar here on the daily chart. We might start up and continue because we have our big picture target on the monthly chart up at this yellow line. So if anything, I'm leaning towards that still. The market came down yesterday, broadened out, took out a bunch of liquidity down here, and then decided to pop right back up. So we're still on track on the weekly chart even to head that yellow line, and we expect a green bar. You kind of expect those highs to be tested, so we'll just have to see how things open on Monday. It's also the last day of the month, and the monthly chart looks like it should close green, so that means at some point in August we'll be anticipating a little bit of follow through on this green bar, probably to those targets. At that point, we can begin to look for failures. This was a failure bar yesterday in terms of price action that I discussed in detail in some videos, and it came to the halfway point of that bar, and that's why you projected a little lower. But then as soon as price opened today, the pre-market range between the blue lines, you could see we were opening much, very much back into the middle of that bar. So we wanted to see right out of the gates, it looked kind of strong. Were we going to immediately get a red bar and start lower? That would have possibly tested these lows. If anything, the market immediately wanted to go up on bar 2, and there's your buy signal, classic. 1 push up, pause, 2nd push up, and then in the morning trade, that's the trade I'm usually looking to take, and anything can happen from that point. Once you're inside of yesterday, and I had some other stocks I was trading, same concept, you're not really necessarily expecting it to take those highs out. You just hoping for it to get to the top of the range, and that's why once it kind of moved up there in 2 waves, it kind of paused and had the big drop. This is just all algorithms taking out the low of the day, and then we reverse and come back into the middle of the range. So the only easy trading here was in the morning after you just kind of saw that the market wanted to start up within that range, and now we're kind of stuck in the middle. If you look at this big broadening action, we're just stuck right in the middle of it. So you have an actionable signal above here to go high, you have one down here to test the lows, and either one could fail as well. If we start lower and kind of on a smaller time frame, make lower lows, we can fail and then start back to higher highs. And in the big picture, we're still heading up to that yellow line, so we'll see what happens. And that's really about it. I mean, there were some good stocks to trade today out of the gates to the upside. Netflix was one I chose. You can see here right out of the gates, I picked that one up. That has 2 pushes up sideways the rest of the day. I went with Microsoft. You could have 1 push up, 2 pushes up kind of thing. A lot of stocks were doing it. Even Tesla gave you an opportunity. So everything looked pretty similar today. Google had a nice start, orderly pause, 2nd push up, and then just went sideways the rest of the day. So it was a good morning trade. you kind of knew you were going to stay inside. You expected an inside bar, so it's not surprising once you kind of were working up to the top of range, things sold off and kind of went sideways after that first move of the day. So anyway, that's what today was. Kind of a surprise, gap up. But that's kind of what the market does sometimes, and that's why, on a day trading basis, it's good that you can just kind of treat each day individually and see how things open, and then kind of monitor price action relative to the context that's in play. And the context right now is we're still heading up green, inside bar, coming into next week, and anticipating still higher until we can eventually get that weekly bar, to do some kind of failure move to make a new lower, a 2 down low, which can then start filling in some gaps down here. We still have that. Like I said, at some point this is going to be a strong target to hit down here, and then there's going to be gaps down here. You'll see. I mean, I don't know how it's going to unfold. Yesterday had a chance to do that and continue, but it was and it was a really good trade to the short side you could have made, but it didn't really follow through at all when a new day began. So we'll get down there at some point, but for now, let's just kind of see how things open on Monday.